Alright guys, BLM here back with a new video. In this video, we're going to be doing a recasting video, which I have done previously for Survivor. I haven't really done it for Big Brother or The Amazing Race. Let's get started on that. Let's do one for The Amazing Race here. We're going to be talking about The Amazing Race 8, talking about what if it was AllStars. Now, if you don't know, Amazing Race 8 was originally developed with the concept of it being AllStars. It later transitioned to becoming the Family Edition, so yay. But I do think really this should have been AllStars. I think Amazing Race 8 would have been the perfect time for it. I think around 6-7 seasons after the season starts is around the time you should be doing an All-Star season for these reality shows. Big Brother did it, BB7. Survivor did it on season 8. I think Amazing Race 8 would have been a good time. I don't know why they didn't do it, but in this video we are going to be talking about what the cast should have been if it was during Amazing Race 8. Now, originally it was going to be what the cast would have been, and I kind of made the cast, and to be honest, it was very similar to the actual All-Star cast that we got in Amazing Race 11, where obviously 3 of those people hadn't raced yet, so essentially it was just swapping out those 3 spots, and I just didn't find that interesting. Obviously, it didn't really make for an interesting video here, so instead I'm going to do what I think I would have done if I had the casting pool that they had to work with here. Now, I still won't go for anything beyond a realistic cast. Like, I won't go for people that weren't going to be on an Amazing Race season at this point, like people who had like broken up or had a hostile relationship towards each other at this point or something. Like, I'm not going to do an unrealistic cast here, but I'm doing the best I can to make an all-star cast out of the people from The Amazing Race pre-season 8. I feel like production could have gotten together if they wanted to. So I did try to keep the genders here pretty balanced. Obviously, Amazing Race didn't seem to really care about that, but I personally tried to keep the genders balanced here. So I decided to go for 3 male-male teams, 3 female-female teams, and 6 male-female teams. I considered going to 11 teams, but to be honest, it's tough already. Like, I mean, this is the thing about The Amazing Race, is that I feel like The Amazing Race, because it has a cast of only 11 or 12 teams, it becomes very tough to create an all-star cast for it without having some massive snubs. And we're going to have some. We're going to have some that we'll be talking about, but it's the way it kind of had to be just due to the limited spots on the cast. But like my other casting videos, we'll be going through the casts that we can, season by season. So let's start off with season 1. And on season 1, I did put 2 teams from this cast on the cast itself, but there were a lot of contenders. I considered Paul and Amy. I think they would have been fun. I don't think they were really that likely of a returnee, but still, I think it would have been fun to see them race again, but didn't make the cut. I think the big one here that I did not put on was Kevin and Drew. Now, Kevin and Drew obviously were on the actual Amazing Race All-Stars, though they were early boots, and really, to be honest, I don't think they should have been on the Amazing Race All-Stars. Not because I don't think they're a great team. I mean, I think they're a fantastic team to watch. They're great TV, really memorable characters, but I just felt like it was so clear that they just weren't ready to go in the race again. I mean, like, they just seemed to not be in good health. Like, it just seemed like it was a waste of a spot, in my personal opinion. So because of that, I didn't put Kevin and Drew on the cast here, despite obviously production loving them, and they were going to be on the cast if there was a real all-star season at Amazing Race 8. But again, I decided not to for my own personal reasons. I would have liked to put Frank and Margareta on, but the problem with that is I believe they were already divorced by this point. And it's just kind of weird to put him on the cast at that point, so decided not to. And the one I really wanted to put on, I can't believe they didn't make it on, was Rob and Brennan. I mean, the first winners of The Amazing Race. It feels weird to have a all-star cast without them, but again, the thing that's tough with them is that they're a male-male team, and I felt like there were 3 pretty locked male-male teams for me on the cast, and it's like, to put them on, that means I need to put another female-female team to keep the genders balanced, and to be honest, I don't feel like there were that many female-female teams that were really in contention here, so Rob and Brennan had to be cut, which sucks because I would love to see the first winners of the race on the All-Star season. I mean, it really is a travesty that they haven't been on the race again up to this point, but at the end of the day, they just aren't massive characters, and because of that, I just really didn't find a spot for them. But onto the 2 teams that did make the cut, obviously you gotta have Team Guido. I mean, I don't think you can have an all-star season, especially the first all-star season of the show, without Team Guido. I mean, they were like the most memorable figures from that season, massive villains, such great characters. How do you not have them? But the other team was a bit more kind of question mark for me. I mean, really, again, I think something that is a big struggle for the All-Star season here at the Amazing Race 8 is the lack of female teams. I mean, there just really aren't that many great ones from this early on. Like, obviously, by the time we get to the real All-Stars, we have, like, Dustin and Candace, who are a fantastic team. But for me, I did find it kind of tough to put 3 female teams on here, especially trying to divide the cast in a way where it's not so focused on one cast, which we might talk about in a little bit. But I decided to put Nancy and Emily on. And for me, Nancy and Emily are one of the more memorable female teams from this early on in the race, especially pre-season 5. And I just felt like out of all the female teams that I had to work with from this early on, I felt like they were the ones I would have liked to see return the most. And also they're a mother-daughter team, which I don't have on the rest of the cast anyway. So I decided, you know what, let's give Nancy and Emily a spot in the cast. Why not? Next up for season 2, which I only put one team on from this cast. There are really no other massive considerations. I mean, the thing is, like, we got like Gary and Dave, who I think were fun characters, but we're never really going to make the cut. Blake and Paige would have been interesting. I actually think they were probably better characters than I give them credit for, but it's like, really, again, there weren't enough spots there. I mean, they probably could have made the cut if I really wanted to. It's like, I really want Tara and Will. However, I just don't think they would race again together, right? I don't think that's a real likelihood at all. So I decided not to put them on. And then Chris and Alex, it's like, I mean, I don't need them. They're not the most interesting. I would rather have Robin Brennan over Chris and Alex. So the team that I did put on for season 2, I mean, obviously you got to have Oswald and Danny. I mean, again, no way they were going to do an All-Star season without them. I mean, they were pretty big locks for the actual All-Stars that did happen in season 11. I think for season 8 here, you got to have them. They pretty clearly made the cut here. Now moving on to season 3. So ones that didn't make the cut, I mean, I really considered Heather and Eve. I mean, obviously they are a female team, which, as I said, is kind of tough to find memorable female teams from this early on. And it was really between them and Nancy and Emily. I decided to go with Nancy and Emily due to, one, their being more memorable, but also their relationship being a mother-daughter relationship. Well, this is just another, like, friends relationship, so I was like, kind of like, Didn't put them on. I considered Aaron and Ariane. There just really wasn't room for them. I mean, I would have picked probably other teams over them. One that did make the actual All-Star cast that I didn't put on mine is John, Vito, and Jill. And for me personally, I've talked about this in the past, I don't even understand why they were on the original All-Stars. I never found them fascinating characters, but I found them so boring on their original season. And yes, they were like underdogs, but it's like, they just weren't that good. I mean, like, I don't get why they were fan favorites personally. So I didn't put them on my cast. And I did consider Flo and Zach. And I also considered the combination of Flo and Derek, because that was also a thing being floated around by the time of the Amazing Race 11. But, I mean, Flo doesn't want to race again, from what I understand. Especially at this point in the Amazing Race. I'm pretty sure she just didn't want to do it again. She said no for season 11. I doubt she says yes for season 8. So that's why they're not on. I mean, obviously, she would be a lock if she wanted to be on. Like, it's guaranteed she's going to be on there, but it's like she doesn't want to. So didn't put her on. The two teams that did make the cut, though, I did put on Ken and Gerard. And I love Ken and Gerard. I think it's a travesty they weren't on the original All-Stars. I think it's a travesty they haven't been brought back since then. I think for the Amazing Race 8 here, again, especially if I'm kicking out Kevin and Drew, I think Ken and Gerard are like the perfect replacements for them. Again, it's who I would have picked over Kevin and Drew on the original All-Stars. I think it's pretty clear they made the cut. But through that is every male team that I had available. That is every male slot. So again, as I said, it's tough to fill these male slots here, just due to there being like 3 pretty locked teams. Again, Team Guido, Oswald and Danny, Ken and Gerard. I mean, it's like, who else would I even put on? But in the other team that I put on from this season, I have Terry and Ian. And again, they made the original All-Star cast. I think they were really fun characters. And with them being the older couple of that season, them getting second place, almost winning the race, and them being as confrontational with each other as they were, I think they were locks to be on All-Stars. I think they had to make the cut here. Now for season 4, and I did not put anyone from season 4 on my cast. And it's kind of funny because, like, the original All-Stars didn't have anyone from season 4 either, and I really thought I was going to get someone on there, but just, again, there wasn't enough room. Like, if I wanted to get the people that I really wanted on the cast, I mean, there's essentially one spot left for a male-female team between season 4 and season 6, and I had to pick one of them, and I went with the season 6 pair over to season 4. Let's talk about the contenders anyway. Season 4, I considered Monica and Shuri. I considered Tiana and Juri, again, 2 female teams that could have made the cut. I think the problem is, again, like, I would rather have Nancy and Emily than either of those teams. And I feel like there's just 2 other locked female teams from a different season for me. So it's like, if I add one of them, that really messes up the numbers, and that makes me to have less male-female teams that I would like, because I feel like there's a lot of good male-female teams. So it's like, for me, I just didn't feel like it was worth putting them on. So they didn't make the cut. I didn't put on Millie and Chuck. I think they would have been funny. I don't know if they were broken up by this point, but I think it would have been fun to see them return, but they didn't make the cut. John and Al, I know, is a team that's considered a big snub from the original season. I never found them that entertaining, personally. Yeah, I would rather have Ken and Gerard a million times over John and Al, so didn't put them on. Kelly and John were the team that I really considered putting on the cast. Again, it was between them and a pair from season 6. I went with that other pair. I mean, John and Kelly, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing again. I think they were pretty fun villains. I do think they say some things that aren't super PC nowadays, but again, this was season 8, so it's like, I don't know. They could make the cut, and I wouldn't be too upset. But again, there were just other locked teams. Like, there were pretty much 5 locked teams, and that was the only slot left, and I decided to give it to the other team. And then the last team that I considered from season 4 was Riken and Chip. The problem is that I believe they already broke up by that. I'm pretty sure they broke up immediately after their season. I mean, they would have been fascinating to see return. It would have been interesting to see how they face up against AllStars. But again, like, from what I understand, it wasn't the cleanest breakup. So I wouldn't be surprised if they are never returning ever again. And now we're moving on to season 5, and season 5 has 4 teams from this. So literally a third of the cast is from season 5. I love season 5. Season 5 is my favorite season of all time. I mean, I think it's many people's favorite season of all time, and I wanted to put more people from season 5 on the cast, but I just couldn't. But the teams I didn't put on Cammy and Carly. There was actually a point where I was like considering, should I just make all the female teams from season 5? Because I could have done that, but I decided to cut Cammy and Carly. I think they're fun characters, but I just feel like the other 2 were bigger locks for me. I considered Brandon and Nicole. I mean, not the most fascinating team in the world, and that's why I didn't make the cut. But I think someone that I would at least consider. And to be honest, I would probably actually rather see Brandon and Nicole than the team that I did select from season 6. But I think the problem there is, again, too many season 5 teams. I decided to narrow it down to 4 because I felt like more than that was just too ridiculous. But teams that made the cut. So first up, we got Sharla and Myrna, and it's like, again, how do you not have Sharla and Myrna? They're absolute locks. 2 of the greatest characters in reality television, in my opinion. I know people find them annoying, but they're such great TV. No way I could do an All-Star season without them. No way Amazing Race could do an All-Star season without them. So they had to make the cut. The next team was, again, one that was supposedly really close to making it on to the Amazing Race 11. So I feel like here for the Amazing Race 8, I feel like they make the cut as well. Again, pretty memorable team, and that is Linda and Karen, the bowling moms. Again, I think they were memorable figures from that season. To be honest, on the rewatch, I don't think I like them as much as I thought I did in terms of characters, but I mean, they're fine. I think they're overshadowed, obviously, by the other massive characters that are on the season. But, I mean, they definitely have a memorable arc there, a memorable downfall of them being taken out by Colin and Christy, and a really, miraculous comeback. So, I mean, for me, I felt like Linda and Karen were definitely memorable enough to bring back for AllStars here. I also brought back Colin and Christy, because at this point in Amazing Race history, again, they had to be locks, right? Like, the only reason they weren't on the Amazing Race 11 was because they had to turn it down because she was currently pregnant at that point. They obviously brought them back for the Amazing Race 31, so obviously it's very clear that production very much liked them. I think no doubt they come back for the Amazing Race 8. And I also did put on Chip and Kim. And I felt weird about it because, in a way, I kind of felt like, should I just try to avoid winners on this cast? Because, to be honest, there wasn't much room for winners on the cast. I mean, I would love to have all the winners on this all-star cast, but it just really didn't feel feasible. But I felt like Chip and Kim were such memorable winners and such fan favorite winners that for me, they had to be on the all-star cast. Again, it's mind-blowing to me that they weren't on the Amazing Race 11. It's completely mind-blowing considering how popular they were at this point in time. I think that they should make the cut. They made the cut for me. Now moving on to the Amazing Race 6. And as I said, I did put one team from this cast on the season, and I had a debate over it. I think there were a couple teams I would have liked to have on there. I really considered Hayden and Aaron because I think they're really fun characters. They really got into a lot of arguments there. I think they could have been fun on return, and they're still together. So it's like they could have been fun on the return here, but they didn't make the cut. I also considered Adam and Rebecca because, again, kind of a train wrecky team there, but again, didn't make the cut. The one I did put on, though, I mean, this was tough because, like, I don't consider them the most fun characters, but I do think as a team, I think they're definitely an all-star team, and that is Chris and John, the runners-up of the Amazing Race 6, and they were an extremely dominant team. I think at this point in the Amazing Race history, they are the best team to ever race. I mean, the fact that they lose at the end really felt like an anomaly. I mean, they completely dominated that season, had one of the best averages in the history of the show, and really, I think that alone is why they should be on an all-star season for me. Again, as characters, they're not as interesting as some other teams that could have been on here. I mean, even Kelly and John, I think, are better characters than Chris and John, but I think Chris and John being one of the best teams to ever race the race, and again, they were also in consideration for the Amazing Race 11. I just felt like they had to make the cut here for me. So despite them not being great characters, I did put them on my cast. And now for the Amazing Race 7, where there were really no considerations outside the two teams that did make the cut for me. I mean, Lynn and Alex, I know, was a team that was considered for Amazing Race 11, but for me, again, I already said, like, the male teams are really stacked. They didn't make the cut. The two teams that made the cut, though, were the same teams that made the Amazing Race 11. We have Rob and Amber. I mean, come on. Rob and Amber have to be on there. Another one of the more dominant teams in history of the race up until this point. I played the race in a very strategic way. Obviously, we're massive fan favorites from Survivor. Really big gets for the Amazing Race. And considering this is the season immediately after that, I think you got to have Rob and Amber on. And I think the same thing goes for Uchenna and Joyce. I mean, again, fan favorite winners of the show, the last winners of the show at this point in the Amazing Race history. They were also on AllStars, the real AllStars. So it's like, for me, no real debate there. They had to be on the cast. Even though, if I'm being honest, I do think there are other winners I personally would have preferred, but I feel like Uchenna and Joyce were pretty lock-picked there, though. But there we go. I mean, that is my recasting the Amazing Race 8 if it was AllStars. So on the cast we have, from Season 1, we have Joe and Bill, and we have Nancy and Emily. From Season 2, we have Oswald and Danny. From Season 3, we have Terry and Ian and Ken and Gerard. We have nobody from Season 4. From Season 5, we have Chip and Kim. We have Colin and Christy. We have Linda and Karen. And we have Charla and Myrna. From Season 6, we have Chris and John. And from Season 7, we have Uchenna and Joyce and Rob and Amber. So there we go. Again, like, I personally do think Amazing Race 8 should have been the All-Star season instead of 11. I feel like 11 felt like way too long. And this would have also saved us from the abomination that is the family edition. But I'm pretty content with this cast overall. I mean, if you want to knock it down to 11, I think you got to cut Chris and John. At that point, I think they're probably the most expendable team on the cast here. But I still would prefer a cast of 12. And there we go. I mean, that's my cast of the Amazing Race 8. I really enjoy doing these recasting videos for any of these shows. I definitely have some ideas for more Amazing Race ones in the future, particularly with the other All-Star seasons. I also would like to do this for Big Brother down the road as well. But for now, that is the video. Thank you for watching.